A bird that swallows bones whole. A fish that eats itself to death. And lethal predators with a taste for human flesh. These are the animal kingdom's hungriest, bloodthirstiest, most flesh-tearingly voracious carnivores. There's no biting off more than you can chew in the world's deadliest Hunger Games. Count Dracula called them the children of the night. But these children are hungry, and they need more than a midnight snack. Wolves. These carnivorous canines live and hunt in packs of 6 to 10 animals. That's a lot of mouths to feed, especially when each mouth can wolf down 20 pounds of meat per meal. So how do they fuel those massive appetites? By killing everything. Small game just won't cut it. Wolves will work together to take down prey up to 10 times their own size. On today's menu, bison. As if guided by one mind, the wolves close in from all sides, scoping out the youngest and weakest potential targets. Then, the killer lupines whip the herd into a frenzy. The first to fall prey is a young calf. Just an appetizer. The other half of the pack drives a weak old-timer into the river. And now it's time for some waterside dining. Each animal is constantly on the lookout for an opportunity to feed. But the lean winter months can put kinship to the test. When packmates succumb to the elements and prey is practically non-existent, wolves have been known to take the concept of family feast to its most gruesome extreme. It just goes to show, when it comes to feeding the beast, wolves are at the top of the food chain. In Argentina, sea lions are teaching the valuable skill of swimming to their pups. They're slow, juicy, delicious pups. For one voracious predator, it's a meal too tempting to pass up. Just like the deadly wolves, orcas are fearsome pack hunters. And if you're one of the animals they call prey, watch out. Killer whales are actually a kind of dolphin, the biggest kind of dolphin. Weighing up to 6 tons, these apex predators can scarf down nearly 500 pounds of fresh meat every day. 4-inch teeth can rip salmon to shreds. Even a poisonous stingray is on the menu. It's a dangerous meal, but the insatiable carnivores can't resist. Orcas can travel at 30 miles per hour, and in pods up to 40 members strong. And when they find a school of herring, batter up. The killer whales snack on the stunned fish like popcorn. Obviously, there's a lot of power in those tails. Just ask this seal. The impressive sky shot leaves the target dazed and defenseless. But not all of their prey is so easy to smack around. These are gray whales. It's hard to believe a kind of dolphin could take on a whale nearly 2 times its size. But this pod is hungry and relentless. For their stomachs, the payoff is huge. And then there are those sea lion pups. The eating machines nearly strand themselves to get the tasty critters on shore. So yeah, it would be fair to call orcas the wolves of the sea. But you could also call them the meanest, hungriest, bitiest, tail slappiest, most badass hunters of pretty much the entire ocean. The Arctic, miles of ice and treeless tundra. It's hard to believe anything could live here. But incredibly, this is the home of the largest carnivore on land, the polar bear. Up to 1,500 pounds, this huge predator is guided by a keen sense of smell. The bear's nose is so good and its appetite so enormous that it can detect a seal pup 3 feet under the ice from over a half-mile away. A young seal like this is up to 75% fat. For the calorie-craving bear, that's like a living, breathing cheesecake. There's no escape. Polar bears can consume 200 pounds of food in a single sitting. In this harsh climate, it pays to be a glutton. The next meal may be days away. A pod of beluga whales are trapped in the sea ice. Their small breathing holes put them close to the edges. Too close. The polar bear can't resist. Eventually, the beluga's injuries become too severe. And the Arctic king wins its royal prize. As the ice melts in the spring, the big bears reveal a hidden talent. They're excellent swimmers. Polar bears have been recorded swimming for nearly 10 days straight. One bear was so driven by its stomach, it even traveled a staggering 426 miles. But sometimes a polar bear's eyes are bigger than its stomach. Here, the air is thick with the smell of walrus. Lots of walrus. At up to 1.5 tons, the big bulls are way more than a mouthful and fully capable of killing the bear with their large tusks. But that doesn't deter this voracious predator, especially since the calves are just the right size. It's a meal big enough to satisfy the giant bear, at least for a while. Polar bears prove that the best way to remain the top predator in the Arctic is to eat, and eat some more. In 1910, a Dutch lieutenant reported sighting large reptilian creatures roaming the mysterious islands of Indonesia. They possessed scales tough as chainmail, claws keen as knives, and a never-ending appetite for flesh. Old sea maps used to warn, here there be dragons. They very well may have been talking about Komodo dragons. Far from creatures of myth, these very real dragons can grow up to 10 feet in length and weigh over 300 pounds. That much mass requires a lot of fuel, and these lizards are gross consumers. Emphasis on gross. Deer, goats, oxen, bones, hooves, and hides. A ravenous Komodo eats it all. Up to 80% of its own body weight in one feeding. But that's why they can afford to be patient and cunning hunters. A Komodo targets its prey and delivers one venomous bite. The dragon then tracks the debilitated animal until it succumbs to the poison, which can take days. Some Komodos have to fight for their meal. When this vicious clash of the titans is over, one thing will be certain. The victor will have worked up an even mightier appetite. An appetite that even includes humans. In 1974, a Swiss baron disappeared on the island of Komodo after he fell behind his tour group. All that was found was his camera, a bloody shoe, and his hat. So the next time you visit the islands of Indonesia, you may want to heed that warning on those old sea maps. Because here there be dragons, and here they be hungry. But there are much bigger grumbling stomachs and biting teeth waiting just ahead. This killer meal is just getting started. In the Florida Everglades, a ravenous invader is gorging on the native wildlife. Deer populations have dropped over 90%. Possums, over 95%. And raccoons are down over 99%. Even bobcats are on the brink of disappearing forever. Who's the culprit behind this feeding frenzy? Public enemy number one, the Burmese python. One of the largest snakes in the world, the Burmese python can weigh close to 200 pounds and reach over 20 feet long. No Everglades mammal is a match for its unending hunger. The python strikes with pointed teeth, then coils around its prey, choking the life out of it. Finally, the serpent stretches its jaw and swallows its meal whole. Originally brought to the US from Southeast Asia as pets, enough had either escaped or been released to begin rapidly breeding in the wild. There may already be over 100,000 pythons in Florida's wetlands. In 2012, the US banned the import of Burmese pythons. Too late. Now the colossal snake's insatiable cravings are driving it closer and closer to Florida's residents. It seems nothing is safe from the python's killer appetite. Not even the American alligator. A fully grown gator's probably too much to handle. But a juvenile? This epic battle of bulging stomachs is raging across the Everglades. And the Burmese python is eating its way to top predator. Many spiders are notorious for their killer appetites. But there's one eight-legged eater whose hunger is colossal: the Goliath bird eater spider. Up to an astonishing 12 inches across, this tarantula from South America shows that big spider equals big food, like snakes, bats, rats, insects, and mice. The Goliath has weak eyesight, but it can sense vibrations in the air and through the ground with highly sensitive hairs. And right now, it feels dinner. Massive 1-inch fangs inject the mouse with paralyzing venom. Then the spider regurgitates digestive juices that break down the rodent into a liquid meal. Mouse stew, anyone? And just in case you thought the name bird eater was false advertising, it's not. The Goliath earned its name by catching and consuming food as big as young birds. The Goliath bird eater is an impressive predator, and it takes a massive appetite to be the biggest and baddest spider in the world. Its Latin name is Gulo gulo, meaning glutton. Native Americans call it the evil spirit. Both are accurate when describing the ravenous scourge of the North American and European tundra, the wolverine. Though small in stature, it's the largest of the weasel family, with a bear-sized appetite. Both scavenger and predator, when it comes to food, this loner will fight any foe of any size. Even this much larger brown bear. The hungry little powerhouse has to be tenacious. It doesn't have the speed of much of its prey. But then, it won't stop the chase until it gets its meal. And whatever it can't eat in one sitting, it carries off to hide in a food cache, even if the carcass is 5 times the wolverine's weight. With razor-sharp claws and special molars angled backwards at 90 degrees, the wolverine is armed and ready for the tough game of northern winters. And while it doesn't hunt in groups like many of our other wolf-like predators, it's perfectly willing to take on a hungry pack. These wolves don't realize it, but their latest kill isn't for them. They did the dirty work for him, and the boss is coming to collect. One wolverine versus a pack of wolves. And incredibly, it's not even close. Looks like there's a new leader of the pack. And he's one hungry alpha dog. When it comes to killer appetites, it's hard not to mention sharks. But the great white shark? Been there, done that. There's another set of hungry jaws in the sea. And unlike the great white, they'll eat just about anything that comes their way. The tiger shark. At its largest, a tiger shark is 25 feet of fins, teeth, and stomach. And this underwater garbage disposal can devour most everything. Case in point, in Australia, researchers have attached a chum bag to the end of a metal pole. Will the shark bite? Before long, it takes the bait. And not long after that, it takes the pole. Sharp teeth and a massive mouth shear the rod in half and swallow it whole. But this odd eating isn't just a fluke. Thankfully for these daring divers, attacks on humans are extremely rare. But then, maybe they should be more worried about their camera gear. Ever wonder what it would look like to get eaten by a shark? Like this. Only with a little more blood. The list of inedible items found in tiger sharks' guts includes license plates, oil cans, a fur coat, even a suit of armor. But when they're not going medieval on inanimate objects, tiger sharks do like a little protein in their diet. Like a Wild West roundup. These tiger sharks corral a school of sardines into one giant spinning mass of easy pickings. But if there's one food these rapacious predators really seem to crave, it's albatross. Specifically, fledgling albatross that have yet to learn how to fly. Every year, tiger sharks turn these Central Pacific shallows into a seaside snack bar. Slaughterhouse might be a more accurate term. The feast can last for days, and while there's only a finite number of fledglings to eat. For an oceanic omnivore that treats the world like an all-you-can-eat buffet, the other options are infinite. It's an apex predator with an appetite of epic proportions. The saltwater crocodile, owner of the strongest bite on Earth. The croc's jaws can crush down with 3,700 pounds of force. With that power, it can make a meal out of anything it wants. Sea turtles, boars, even sharks. Ranging from Southern Asia to Australia, these notorious ambush killers are the largest crocodiles in the world, easily growing to 20 feet in length. In fact, the monster memorialized by this statue was reported to be over 28 feet long. That's big enough to make mincemeat of a 1-ton water buffalo. Salties are long-distance swimmers that, when driven by the need to feed, will migrate hundreds of miles out into open ocean. They're usually solitary. But there's one thing that can bring them together: food. And sometimes that unending group hunger leads to some pretty gruesome meals, like human beings. In 1945, during the Battle of Romrey Island, over 1,000 Japanese troops fled into a swamp. Allied forces surrounded them, but the Japanese refused to surrender. Saltwater crocodiles did the rest. As few as 20 Japanese soldiers survived the onslaught. Between the Komodo dragon and the Burmese python, there's obviously stiff competition to the world's most voracious reptile. But that's just the kind of title the saltwater crocodile can sink its teeth into. The lion is a fierce predator. with an appetite to match. No feast is too big for the king of the jungle. But there's one population of lions that are really deadly. The Tsavo lions of Kenya are identical to other lions in many ways. They're fierce hunters, and expert killers. But they look different. Their fur is darker. The males have distinct short manes. And, oh yeah, they have a taste for human flesh. In 1898, two Tsavo lions in East Africa ate a reported 135 railway workers. 135 railway workers eaten by two Tsavo lions in only 9 months. Today, the man-eating lions can be seen in Chicago's Field Museum exhibit, which proudly displays the preserved remains of the lions, nicknamed the Ghost and the Darkness. This feline flesh feast was originally thought of as a freak occurrence. But nearly 100 years later, it happened again. In 1991, a rogue Tsavo lion devoured 6 people in Zambia's Longwa River Valley. Some speculate the Tsavo lion's peckishness for people parts was caused by high testosterone levels. Others believe a toothache in one of the lions in the 1898 attacks may have convinced them to make an easy pantry out of the nearby workers' camp. One thing's for sure, the lions of Tsavo, Kenya are official, confirmed, verified man-eaters. Massive anacondas, deadly caiman. These are the killer appetites most people think of when picturing the Amazon. But there is another, even hungrier beast swimming in these waters. The giant otter. Sure, they may look cute, but these 6-foot-long, 75-pound dynamos are ruthless feeders, eating over 1/10 of their own body weight every day. And because these ravenous animals work together to keep the clan fed, locals liken them to those other notorious pack hunters, even calling them Lobos del Rio, AKA river wolves. The otters use their sensitive whiskers to detect snacks of all sizes in the murky water. An eel is a good meal, but a huge catfish is even more enviable. Death never looked so adorable. A single family of giant otters can dominate a 12-mile stretch of river. And that means protecting their turf from the Amazon's other top predators. Remember the anaconda? It cowers in the face of the otter. But what about those deadly caiman? Not only do these killer reptiles compete for the same food, given a chance, they'll make a meal of an otter pup. That is, in theory. The giant otters team up to harass the caiman. they're relentless. Overwhelmed, the reptile runs for calmer waters. Lucky it's not the otter's next meal. It makes sense that they're compared to wolves, because when they put their stomachs together, giant otters are the big dogs on the Amazon. But for those rare occasions when the giant otters don't clean their plates, there is another hungry mouth in the river, ready and willing to finish the job. Alone, it is just another fish, barely a blip on the radar of life. But when it gets together with a few of its friends, it becomes one big, ravenous mass, and nothing in the water is safe. The piranha, underwater terror of the Amazon basin. In South America, there are over 30 species of this killer fish. But it's the hungry red-bellied piranhas with the infamous reputations. Because when these vicious eaters dig in, they do so with the sharpest teeth of any piranha species. During feeding frenzies, each fish uses their interlocking shredders to take one huge chunk out of their prey. And they don't even chew. Every meaty bite goes straight back to their bellies. When this fledgling wood stork loses its footing, it's the last stumble it will ever make. Like hundreds of tiny daggers, the piranha teeth tear the waterfowl to shreds in seconds. It's enough food to keep a school of 10 to 20 fish fed for a day. But like most fish, piranha need to eat daily. Bad news for this capybara. It is the world's largest rodent, one whose frenzied splashing attracts some very hungry piranha. Why did the capybara cross the river? It didn't. Dozens of piranha sweep in, creating an underwater blender. The river boils as each fish takes a bite, then backs off to let the others in. It takes just 60 seconds for a school of these 3-pound fish to strip the massive capybara to the bone. While there are no verified human fatalities from piranha attacks, they have been known to bite fingers and toes clean off, bone and all. These aqua demons are so hungry, they're not even safe from themselves. When water levels are low and food scarce, they turn the food chain back on itself, resorting to the most disturbing diet of all, cannibalism. The ravenous red-bellied piranha proved that once again, a collective killer appetite far outweighs an individual's hunger. Lurking in the depths of this Irish lake is a creature notorious for its bottomless appetite. A real-life water monster, the northern pike. It's named for its resemblance to the deadly medieval weapon, because this is one deadly fish. The pike hunts with shocking speed. And a mouthful of needle-sharp teeth, which keep it at the top of the freshwater food chain. In areas where it's an invasive species, the northern pike eats so much, it tends to decimate the ecosystem. But it doesn't just feed on fish. This gilt gobbler likes surf and turf. Before this vole knows what's what, it's fish food. But the pike's hunger doesn't end there. It's even developed a taste for tender young waterfowl. This little duckling never stood a chance, taken down with just one bite. But what really gives the pike its gluttonous reputation is its habit of stuffing its face. Unlike the piranha, it prefers to swallow prey whole, using its highly acidic stomach juices to digest large meals quickly, so it can eat again. But it's a method that can backfire. Pikes sometimes bite off more than they can chew, choking to death on their oversized snacks. The northern pike, a fish infamous for its seafood diet. Because yes, it eats just about everything it sees. But you don't have to be a deadly predator to be in the world's deadliest Hunger Games. In the mountains of Eastern Africa, a bizarre but not uncommon sight. An animal bone falling from the sky. Where did it come from? And why? The answer begins on this craggy Ethiopian mountainside, where a flock of ravens has just finished picking the meat off this mountain goat carcass. But there's an apex scavenger here that's much bigger and hungrier than them. It is the notorious bearded vulture, a brawny bird with a hunger for death. It doesn't spend its day hunting for live prey on which to feast. It wants what's beneath all that fur and muscle. The bones. The bearded vulture is the only bird in the world that primarily consumes bone, specifically for the rich, nutritious marrow locked inside. And it's figured out how to get it out. The bearded vulture flies 200 feet above rocky ground. Then, it's bones away. The goat femur shatters into a dozen pieces. Marrow now exposed, the voracious vulture has no problem chowing down the bone chunks too. But it's all about getting that precious marrow, which makes up 70% of the scavenger's diet. And while the older bone busters make it look easy, it takes young bearded vultures up to 7 years to perfect their aim. But the more they learn to hit the spot, the more they can consume. According to legend, Greek playwright Aeschylus was killed when a bearded vulture mistook his bald head for a rock and brained him with a tortoise. Whether or not that actually happened, one thing is true. When in Africa, watch the skies. Before these bone-dropping, gut-busting bombardiers get the drop on you. But there is a much hungrier beast out there. One that puts all previous killer carnivores to shame. We've seen how massive mouths and giant stomachs lead to some larger-than-life hunger. But one of the biggest, deadliest appetites in the animal kingdom comes from one of its smallest members. It's the common shrew. Found in fields and gardens across the northern hemisphere. And while it may not look very intimidating, beneath that unassuming fur beats the heart of one insatiable killer. In fact, that killer heart beats an astonishing 1,300 times per minute, creating one of the most hyperactive metabolisms in nature. It takes a lot of fuel to keep this motor running, and a heightened sense of smell that can detect prey hiding underground. But just how hungry is this tiny mammal? Incredibly, the shrew must eat nearly its entire body weight each and every day just to survive. That means if prey is scarce, it dies. If it oversleeps, it dies. If it misses just one meal, it can die. The shrew is not going to let that happen. In the snow, underwater, anywhere there might be a life-sustaining meal, the shrew is on the hunt. And almost nothing is off the menu. An encounter with a stinging scorpion would make most animals turn tail, but not the shrew. He devours it as fast as he can, so he can start sniffing out the next meal. And when it comes to the shrew, the smaller they are, the hungrier they get.
Oh, he bit you?
The pygmy shrew, one of the smallest mammals on the planet, must consume up to 3 times its body weight every day. That's like a 175-pound man having to eat over 2,000 quarter-pounders each and every day. Almost 90 an hour. But shrews aren't the only hungry predators lurking in the garden. A garter snake is on the prowl. If it can snag a big meal like the shrew, it won't have to worry about finding food for days. As it turns out, it won't have to worry about finding food ever again. The snake is too slow, and the shrew too hungry. The end comes quick for the much larger reptile. But for the shrew, there's no end in sight. No end to its hunger, anyway. With only so many scorpions and snakes to go around, the shrew must protect its hunting grounds fiercely, especially against other shrews. These two will duke it out until one finally gives in. And to the victor go the spoils. Never slow down. Never stop hunting. Keep eating. Always. This is the unspoken mantra of the shrew. A tiny little mammal with one giant killer hunger.
They slither, hiss, and strike.
Oh, careful, mate.
especially when you catch them by the tail.
Ah, look at this.
Sometimes wrangling snakes is more art than science,
The snake is spitting cobra.
and the stakes are high.
He can make you dead, make no mistake about that.
There's enough venom there to kill more than 100 Papua New Guineans.
Get ready to go hand to scale and face to fang with some of the world's deadliest cold-blooded killers. First on the list, the Australian copperhead. This is an Aussie super snake, a muscular serpent with a lethal bite. The copperhead goes where other snakes fear to slither. It can scale snowy mountains, swim through swamps, and hunt in freezing temperatures. But survival in this harsh environment comes with a price. There isn't much on the menu, except other copperheads. This snake is a cannibal, and it's being stalked by a master. Brian Bush lives for reptiles. He has a shed full of poison,
Let me introduce you to some of my friends. Whack him in here.
his own custom tools,
This is a quick release frame. Makes it really easy.
and plenty of attitude.
Oh, it's great.
He even looks like a reptile.
Talk about a freak of nature. Ah! All we got to remember is snake's an important part of the environment.
Brian uses his poisonous prizes for education. But there's one kind of snake behavior even this venom virtuoso has never witnessed. Cannibalism. Snakes do eat other snakes as a bonus when going after the same meal, or different species as prey. But there's one Australian species that consistently swallows its own kind, and that's the copperhead. Ryan has come to the misty mountains of Tasmania to observe this antisocial snake behavior. But the copperheads aren't exactly cooperating.
We've got a snake, a copperhead. Oh! I should have had him.
Sometimes even a master gets schooled.
I was expecting the snake to go over the bank. It did a U-turn and cruised straight into this muddy creek here. Could lay under the water for an hour. But I'm going to keep looking.
With no snakes in sight, Brian resorts to some unconventional methods.
We're going to get some copperheads! Snake dancing brings them out, don't worry!
Maybe the dance has worked.
Oh, look at this! What a fat snake! You beauty! I'm interested in the cannibalism in this snake, so I'm going to chuck it in a bag and take it with me for a little experiment I've got planned.
Now it's time for a little dietary test. Local herpetologist Bill Flowers has a frozen surprise planned for this cold-blooded cannibal.
Yeah, Bill's helping us out with this experiment. He picked up a couple of roadkill copperhead. Roadkill, no worries.
A pretty poisonous popsicle.
We're going to have to wait for these to thaw out a bit.
Bill and Brian build an enclosure for the snakes that simulates their natural habitat.
Yeah, still thawed out. Let's go.
Oh, no worries.
All they have to do is add the copperhead roadkill, and they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I reckon if we layer up on the...
They've even figured out a way to bring a dead snake back to life.
We propose to manipulate the dead copperhead with a bit of wire, move it along, it'll have its head up, it should look real.
Let's see how that works. Straight into my eyes.
Hello, Brian. What are you doing in Tassie?
I'm chasing blokes like you. I'm after copperheads.
It's now or never.
This is the most likely one to eat it, but it's carrying a fair bit of condition. Look at that, how fat it is. That's it. Now lift him up. Just a little bit higher. That's it, yeah.
The roadkill puppet definitely catches the live snake's attention.
Oh, we got it.
And Brian learns that this lethal serpent is more interested in biting its brothers than people.
Swallow it.
Plus, there's nothing like a bit of cannibalism to work up an appetite.
Yeah, beauty, it worked.
It did it. It worked, yes.
Ah, you're a good man, Bill. I owe you something now. I better buy you a steak, I reckon.
Well, that did make me hungry, mate.
All right, let's go.
This slender snake hunts in a more unusual element. The air. Meet the paradise tree snake, a reptile that's more jump than bite. When danger threatens or food beckons, it flattens its frame and takes the plunge, turning its entire body into a serpentine glider. Jake Socha has come to Singapore to catch a few of these airborne acrobats. He studies animal biomechanics, and he aims to find out how these reptiles defy gravity.
Here you have an animal that's shaped like a cylinder that's able to move through the air. I'm just fascinated with how it works. I want you guys to be ringed around here, so I want a couple of people outside too.
If you think it's hard to catch a snake on the ground, try grabbing one that can fly.
Oh, there's so many gaps up here. He's not gonna come out.
To your left, and straight up from your head.
You got him, Norman. You got him. He's right above you.
Get him, come on.
That good a move needs some instant replay.
He's not looking at you. If you get up now and do it, you'll be right. Quick.
Fortunately, practice eventually makes perfect.
All right.
And luckily, a bite from this snake isn't dangerous to humans.
Beautiful snake, isn't it? That was literally a catch. Here you go, Dick.
Now comes the real reason for the wrangling.
3, 2, 1.
Film the snake flying. All you need are 2 towering scaffolds, some rope, a fearless cameraman, and a love of heights. Or not.
I don't like heights. Thankfully, they've stopped at a. It shouldn't be too wobbly up there. At least that's the idea.
A non-toxic paint job will help a computer program track the snake's movements during flight. It's showtime.
Whoa. A little wobbly there. Yeah, this is what keeps me from plummeting to the earth. I hope. Okay, I'm reaching down for the snake. I don't normally name my snakes, but one of my volunteers here named this one Air Tony. We'll see what Tony can do here.
No one will force the snake to fly.
It's looking down. It's going now.
It takes the leap all on its own. Again, and again, and again.
That is fantastic.
And they don't seem to mind a few crash landings, if they can make a break for it. Finally, Jake has his footage. A close-up, real-time view of a serpent in flight.
This footage is going to help me at least get some hints at what's going on in a detailed sense.
So watch out, travelers. The next great airplane design just might have a little reptile in it. This monster would never even get off the ground. The Gaboon Viper. 6.5 feet long and weighing up to 18 pounds. This beefy serpent is the largest viper on the planet, with the world's longest fangs. These massive 2-inch long needles can inject more venom than any other snake. Enough to kill 30 humans with a single bite. In any fang-off, this lethal behemoth is the odds-on favorite. But one snake wrangler is eager to take him on. Dr. Zoltan Takis has searched for snakes through jungles, deserts, and oceans in 134 countries, gathering venom and DNA samples for his research into snake digestion. The deadlier, the better.
I'm actually very fascinated by venomous and poisonous animals. I don't think I'm crazy because so far I managed to be alive.
The guy is herpetology's Indiana Jones, minus the snake phobia. Though this snake maniac does have one problem. He's allergic to anti-venom.
So I have to really be careful. Allergic reaction can kill me.
So a fang-off with the world's largest viper could end very badly. But first, Zoltan has to find one. He heads deep into Cameroon's remote Lobiki National Park, guided by local Baka pygmies. In here, there are plenty of places for a snake to hide.
This is what we're looking for, shades of brown. The gaboon viper hiding in the leaf litter. Extremely hard to notice in the forest floor.
On day 6, the Baka guides spot the prize.
One of them just told me he found a big viper near the river. I'm so excited. I really want to see. Anybody sees the snake right now?
Yes, those guys would actually see the snakes.
Just point to the snake.
It's a well-camouflaged monster.
The gaboon viper, the king of all vipers. Great. Everybody just stand clear, don't move, yeah? Okay?
An adult gaboon viper has virtually no natural enemies and can bring down prey as big as an antelope. One wrong move can be fatal. At 11 pounds, Zoltan has just bagged a big hunk of snake.
Okay, I have it. Release the bag,
Back at his field lab, Zoltan gets a good look at what those massive fangs can do. And plenty of venom for his research. Days later, the team catches an even bigger one.
It's the hugest gaboon viper I ever seen.
A 6.5-foot, 18-pound leviathan hiding in plain sight.
Watch the head of the snake. It's really the catch of the whole expedition. Great!
Zoltan has what he came for.
This is why I came to Africa. Tissue samples from 44 snakes, including the gaboon viper and the rhinoceros viper.
And these samples are just the first of many. This snake-loving superstar already has his next capture in sight.
The speeding cobra.
No one wants a venomous snake for a neighbor, especially if it's as lethal as the Cape cobra, one of the most dangerous cobra species in Africa. A bite from this hooded serpent can kill a man in 30 minutes. Unfortunately, in the heat of the day, this snake gets a taste for real estate.
You got a problem there with the reptile?
Got a cobra in the house? Well, if you live in Cape Town, South Africa, you know who to call. The Snake Buster.
Hi, it's Sean Thomas speaking. You left a message for me.
For Sean Thomas, facing some of the world's deadliest fangs is just part of a day's work.
Very pretty. That's unnecessary behavior.
You see, this cobra is dangerous. He can kill all of us here. He can kill 10 people, this guy. It's gonna be a busy day. Let's go.
Sean doesn't always face the invaders solo. Like any successful business owner, he has employees. This one will work for food.
In some cases, there'll be snakes that we can't find inside a house, and Timon the meerkat plays a very helpful role in actually locating that snake. His senses are very, very sharp.
I believe you got a snake in the house. All right. Come, boy.
Meerkats are natural snake hunters, in the wild and in the living room.
Where's the snake, boy? Where's the snake?
Timon has another valuable skill. He's 1,000 times more immune to snake venom than Sean. A match made in snake buster heaven. And it doesn't take long before he delivers the goods.
Okay, he seems to be paying a lot of attention to under this couch, so I'm gonna take him away and see what's underneath this couch.
It's dust bunnies of the most dangerous kind.
Oh, great. It's a beautiful Cape Cobra. And not the ideal specimen to have in your home. So if you see any more of those ones, you're gonna call me.
Sean will release the snakes into the wild.
Just be careful, eh?
Or into his basement.
My snake room is a sealed, lockable room underneath my house. I keep forest cobras, Cape cobras, puff adders, berg adders.
An extreme case of not leaving your work at the office. Want venom? Well, there's only one way to get it.
Gotcha.
Stalk, grab, and milk an angry snake.
Come here, mate.
That means going up against some of the snake world's most lethal superstars.
Taipan, Ben, bring it back, quick!
And this is one of the worst. The Papuan taipan, one of the most venomous snakes in the world. When threatened, this 10-foot-long terror comes out fighting, inflicting multiple bites filled with toxic venom. Without treatment, more than 80% of bite victims die.
This fellow out.
And Australian herpetologist David Williams is holding one in his hands like a pet.
Okay.
This town is ground zero for venom victims. Moragina in Papua New Guinea. In this place, snake is another word for death. Moragina has one of the highest mortality rates of snake bite in the world.
Away from the veranda because they're very fast snakes, and if they get in among people, right, they'll bite everyone inside. For those patients fortunate enough to get to Port Moresby,
The only anti-venom for this deadly reptile costs a fortune, and it has to be refrigerated. But refrigerators and cash are in short supply here.
you can't help but really feel, heartbroken having to stand by and watch a family see a loved one die under those circumstances. So we actually got a fair bit of venom out of this specimen.
David wants to develop a freeze-dried anti-venom to save lives in remote areas. But the crucial cure has a main ingredient: live taipan venom. That means a snake hunt. His only defensive weapons? A stick, a bag, and his wits.
So you guys saw a snake here this morning, eh? All right, whereabouts was he? Can you show me? Taipan! Got it. Hang on. Okay, clear. Now get back out of the road. Oh, look.
This snake will soon donate its venom to David's
Are
cause.
you there? Oh, bloody hell.
Affordable, portable anti-venom. Snakes don't just strike by land. They also stalk the seas. And all snakes can swim. But the banded sea crate is an underwater champion. Its specially adapted tail turns its entire body into a paddle. Large lungs enable it to stay underwater for up to 8 hours. And nature didn't skimp on the poison. The crate's venom is 10 times more potent than a rattlesnake's. And Zoltan Takis is back in search of that poison.
Hey, excellent. Here is the prize.
His new goal? To solve a reptilian mystery. How snakes can be immune to their own toxic venom. First stop, the Pacific island countries of Vanuatu and Fiji, where land and ocean teem with sea snakes. To get enough samples, Zoltan needs to catch at least 20 swimming serpents. And when night falls, the snakes seem eager to volunteer.
Hey, very, very nice. The secret. This snake just came out from the water, just came out from there, nowhere. Oh, there is another one, there's more one. Great.
The island is crawling with crates.
Excellent. This is getting really busy tonight. It's rush hour here in Vanuatu. So nice. Two bag full of sea snakes. Great.
Back on land, it's time to harvest some venom.
Good morning, neighbors.
But the crates have other ideas.
Hopefully. Okay, too much traffic here. Everybody's going back. Good.
There's catching snakes, and then there's keeping them.
Okay, we're not gonna lose one single snake. Excellent.
The jailbreak thwarted, Zoltan gets what he came for: blood and poison. But sea snakes aren't his only target. Banded sea crate venom is similar to cobra venom, otherwise known as snake spit. And this monster can spew poisonous saliva with the best of them. The spitting cobra has its cousin's telltale hood and fierce-looking fangs. But it also lives up to its name. When confronted, this aggressive cobra can spit toxic venom straight into a predator's eyes from over 8 feet away, causing blindness or worse. And if the spit doesn't kill you, its bite will. Like the sea crate, the cobra is immune to its own toxins. Unfortunately, Zoltan isn't. He's left the tranquil waters of the Pacific for the rainforests of Tanzania to face off with this formidable foe.
Snake!
Except he's not about to expose his face.
Don't look the snake, the spitting cobra.
Corralling a spitter requires some special armor.
The mask is absolutely important. Goggles covering only the eyes are not enough because you don't want to get venom spat on your face.
This venom-spewing serpent has no interest in being part of the scientific process.
There is no room for error here. If you do a small error, you can die.
Even in Zoltan's grip, he's still dangerous. Blood sample secure. It's time to change from snake superhero to science professor. If he unlocks the key to venom immunity, his discoveries could lead to better antivenins or disease-busting drugs. This lethal bruiser may also be able to help with some discoveries. Australia's death adder. 3 feet long with a small rat-like tail used to lure prey, the death adder has a lightning-fast strike. Just one bite from the snake can kill, and it likes to stand its ground in a fight. But this couple is willing to face its fangs. Love, marriage, and venom. For Craig and Jackie Adams-Marr, till death do us part could be sooner than later.
We lead a venomous life, and you want to keep leading it. You've got to know what you're doing. Good stuff.
They both work at the Australian Reptile Park north of Sydney.
Have you been cleaning your ears?
a wildlife sanctuary and vital source of venom used to produce Australia's antivenom. It's a reptile dairy that produces poison. And it's Craig and Jackie's job to catch new milkers.
Happy?
Let's go.
Oh.
So they're off on a cattle call for death adders.
Holy hell!
But even in snake country, finding live ones isn't going to be easy.
I don't think we're going to be able to use them. All right, catch us later. Look after those adders.
So the happy couple decides to go all out.
Craig, come here. Look at this beauty.
Jackie is ready to bag her hidden treasure.
I got me adder. Yee-hee!
Now, Jack, just be careful, mate. She might be moving slow, but when she wants to move, 0.25 of a second, she'll be on you before you can blink. Nice stuff, mate. Nice stuff, eh?
But one adder isn't enough for a venom farm, and the next one they find isn't too interested in joining the harvest.
You're gonna have to dig it out. There's no way you're putting your hand in there.
There's his tail.
Aussie snake wranglers like to grab their prize by the tail. That won't work with the death adder. This serpent uses its tail as a lure, and it's good at striking from behind.
Don't do anything stupid, Craig.
Let's try and get it around him. Come on. Got it now. You want to get the bag open? Quick. Go in front. Go in front. That's a boy, sorry. Go. All right. All right.
Another good one, baby.
That was lucky, mate. That
Promise
was
me.
really lucky.
Promise me you will never, ever put your hand in one of those crevices.
All right, it's just the heat of the moment, that's all. I just thought, you know, tiger snake, something like that, I can just go bammo and you got it out.
No,
But you just
there's
can't
no
do it.
about it, okay? No, you can't.
Jackie needs Craig to stick around,
I can't wait to show him.
especially when they get their milkers back to the barn.
Usually these guys are pretty comfortable about biting the bale. See the fangs there, they're just long fangs on death adders.
They're big fangs that will save lives. Not all snakes are aggressive, even if they pack a poisonous punch. North America's pit vipers have a fearsome reputation. They get their name from these small heat pits below the eyes, which can detect body heat, even in total darkness. And these three are the worst. The cottonmouth, also known as the water moccasin. A semi-aquatic snake armed with deadly venom that can melt muscle. The eastern diamondback rattlesnake. It may use its famous tail as a warning, but this bad boy can strike at 1/3 of its body length. And the copperhead, one of America's most common venomous snakes. This viper is responsible for 1/4 of venomous snake bites in the U.S. But is this poison posse really that ferocious? Herpetologist Jesus Rivas isn't so sure.
Snakes have the bad reputation in the lore of many cultures. Normally they're seen as vicious, as malignant, as mean, as evil. And one of the things that I want to know is what is the real nature of the behavior of pit vipers?
Hey, how are ya?
Jesus' first stop, a snake-infested South Carolina swamp with colleague Whit Gibbons.
This is like a great place for a snake, isn't it?
It's the perfect habitat for cottonmouths, and it doesn't take long to find one.
Big one? Now, is it good looking? Oh, good looking.
But the snake doesn't seem eager to attack.
See, his first response, did you see that? Escape.
Even when it's stepped on.
He's got his mouth open, but he's not biting.
snake opens the mouth and reaches to his food, but doesn't bite, just touches with the mouth open, doesn't even try to make an actual bite. She doesn't want to risk breaking her fangs.
They need those fangs to eat, not to bite people. It's a threat display. I could hurt you. Leave me alone.
It looks like this cottonmouth is all show and no strike. That may not be the case with a rattlesnake. The eastern diamondback can inject 5 times more venom than the cottonmouth. So in Florida, Dr. Bruce Means tracks his subjects by radio transmitter to avoid stepping on them.
Jesus.
Oh, cool. Oh, what a beauty. Big guy, look at that.
And you don't want to ever be bitten by this snake. The eastern diamondback, in my opinion, is the most dangerous snake in the United States and Canada. When you get bitten by this snake, it's deadly serious.
Yet even this bruiser hesitates to strike.
He could reach you, yet he's not. He's like a boxer jabbing, keeping the distance, showing his reach, showing where he can do harm, but not really aiming to hurt him.
Clearly, these pit vipers are more passive than aggressive. And this amateur snake wrangler is willing to take that on faith.
Might be something under here, who knows?
In the tiny Appalachian town of Edwina, Tennessee, church pastor Jimmy Morrow likes to search for deadly copperhead converts.
Right in here is one of the snakiest places that I've been to. But there's copperhead.
Bingo!
He has a reason for catching copperheads. On Sundays, he takes them to church, where they star in a pretty unusual sermon. In the book of Mark, in the Bible's New Testament, Jesus told his followers that those who believe in him could handle serpents, and no harm would come to them. These believers take that literally.
He's moving them around in a manner that will strongly discourage anybody to do it. Unbelievable.
And it seems like their prayers are answered. There are no bites. Is it a reptilian miracle? Pure dumb luck? Or a box of defanged pets?
Now this is a copperhead. He's a venison snake, and he was caught, okay, out of the wall, right? Okay, now, watch this. Okay, see him biting it? See all that poison?
Just like its cousins, the fearsome copperhead is more of a lover than a fighter. Or maybe they just behave in church. Every year, around 100,000 people lose their lives to snakebite worldwide. And the spectacled cobra is one of the world's leading killers. Snake charmers have made this snake famous, but the cobra's real talents are speed, agility, and a potent bite. But there's another reason why this snake is so dangerous. It likes to live near people, and when human and snake meet, the snake often wins. Unless you're a professional snake wrangler. The Arula people of southern India have been hunting deadly serpents for generations. It's a risky profession. India has the highest rate of snakebite deaths in the world.
I consider the Urulas the best snake catchers because they're the people who read the sign that the snakes have left behind and find out exactly where they've gone.
Herpetologist Ram Whitaker has worked with the Arula for years.
This is a cobra scat, and I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to identify it, frankly. I'm just sort of learning the ropes, even though it's been 25 years since I started working with them.
Years ago, these fearless hunters survived by selling snake skins, if they lived long enough to kill their quarry. Today, India's venomous snakes are protected, so the Arula have gone from hunters to farmers with a rather unusual harvest. Toxic venom. The Arula snake farms provide over 80% of venom used for anti-venom in India. And if they're bitten, there won't be any hazard pay. Kali learned snake tracking from his father. And on a cobra hunt, generations of know-how quickly pay off.
Ah, yeah, look at that. What? 2 cobras inside, man. I mean, that's a rare event.
Even faced with 2 spectacled cobras, the Arula hunter shows no fear. But maybe he should.
Kali's got a very quick bite on his leg. We're hoping it's okay, but okay, we just walk slow and easy and get there.
Kali has to move slowly to stop the spread of venom. But he's in a race against time. The symptoms can start to show within minutes. And the nearest hospital is hours away.
It wasn't a very big cobra, but on the other hand, a cobra that size has enough venom to kill 3 or 4 people. The worst case scenario is if he did get a very high dose of venom, he could actually go into respiratory paralysis within a couple of hours. Unfortunately, we have a snake bite.
Okay, so where's the patient, sir?
Right here. He's our snake catcher, Irla.
Cobra, sir.
As Kali's breathing grows worse, doctors decide to administer antivenin. Made from the cobra venom his people risk their lives to harvest. Kali's job almost killed him. But the Arula's long tradition of snake wrangling will continue to save lives. Not all of these cold-blooded killers are deadly to humans. But even a boa constrictor can put up a fight. Long, smooth, and full of muscle, the boa isn't poisonous, but it's definitely a brute. Boas don't strike. They bite, embrace, and squeeze, suffocating their prey. Boas may not pack poison, but they have plenty of teeth. So when it comes to a fang-off, herpetology grad student Scott Bobchek still has to take extra care.
Got a female. 12 centimeters for the tail.
He's in Belize to research the size and evolution of boa constrictors.
Next. 6.34, 106.
Scott is trying to find out why island boas are so much smaller than mainland boas.
You have snakes on the islands that are completely different in size. Mainland snakes are at least twice as long and 4 or 5 times as heavy. Let's get some boas.
On the island, the trees are dripping with snakes.
So we got one right up in this tree right here. Looks like it's choosing an ambush position right at the end of this dead branch.
Unfortunately, Scott is the one who gets ambushed.
Whoever said that island snakes are docile, they'll take a bite out of you.
I can feel him. He's got you.
There's a feeling in my hand.
Now Scott needs mainland females. But these girls aren't into pristine jungles. Belize City's boas have a more urban hunting ground.
This is not for the weak-stomached.
The town dump isn't classic constrictor habitat. But the swampy garbage is home to a snake smorgasbord.
It's a haven for other animals like rats and other prey items that the boas are going to eat.
Want to be a snake wrangler? Roll up your sleeves and dive in.
This is fun stuff. You know, we're just like in the right spot to find a dead body just lying right around here. Right in this car window, just like his head sticking out.
Meanwhile, when it comes to the boas Scott already has, his problems are just beginning. After all the driving, his biggest charge is a little car sick.
That was a big lizard.
Which means some big prey is coming up the other way.
The road was a little bit too much for her.
And then an island boa disappears into thin air.
I can't find the snake. This is not what I wanted to do. Oh, God. And I think that the snake sneaked down the back of the sink. Yeah, he's in there.
He's in there?
One hotel sink, $179.
Pretty snake, huh?
The boa, priceless. Some snakes like to set their sights high, especially the eyelash viper. The elongated scales over its eyes give it one of the prettiest faces in the serpent world. But don't be fooled by its flirty gaze. This petite hunter is armed with long, needle-like fangs that can deliver a venom-packing puncture in less than a quarter of a second. Eyelash vipers like to climb trees. So this snake wrangler is taking the fang off to new and dizzying heights.
It usually works that flawlessly, but not always.
When it comes to researching reptiles, viper specialist Jeff Sorrell likes it wild and woolly. From the mud, to the seas, to the shrubs,
There you go, good job.
to the trees. It's even earned him a nickname, Jungle Jeff.
To me, I found some sort of means of justifying doing what many would call childish behavior.
He's come to the jungles of Panama in search of vipers with eyelashes, and he wants to prove a new theory.
This is what we're really looking for.
According to conventional research, these pretty killers pounce on prey at night. But Jungle Jeff isn't known for being conventional.
Watch out, watch out.
He believes that the eyelash viper also hunts during the day. And he's going to make them cough up the prey to prove it.
He had a big meal. So the procedure of palping snakes is pretty standard. And at a certain point, once the prey item gets near the head, they sort of regurgitate on their own.
Frog. Nice. No, it's a lizard. Whoa, it's a frog. It's a frog.
A lot of the prey items that we found in these snakes are animals that are active during the day.
To prove these snakes are diurnal, Jeff needs to see a daytime viper strike for himself. And that means pulling out all the stops to catch one.
That's always a nice sound when you're about to climb up in a tree.
How's your climb going?
Going good.
This snake wrangler defines the phrase, survival of the fittest.
Nobody else is catching eyelash vipers 27 meters in trees, so I figure that's a good enough reason for me to climb. Just to see exactly how high these little guys will go.
Jeff can spot an eyelash viper more than 100 feet up.
I mean, it's hard to believe that the snake is holding itself on the bowl of this tree with that little flake of bark.
And bring it back down.
We just try to drop the snake right in, that's the plan. Okay, it's in the bag. Worked as planned.
With their scaly study subject at a lower altitude, it's time for a little afternoon snack.
Oh!
That proves that they eat during the day, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Wow.
Jeff survives his fang off, but this little lizard isn't so lucky.
The first try. The very first time.
I mean, I know we got it, but
yeah,
but it was a blur.
Fast, man.
It doesn't take long to prove Jeff's theory.
Oh.
It seems that day or night, no snake will turn down a free lunch.
Oh.
They'll even swallow it whole.
Gotcha.
From savannas to swamps,
This is not for the weak stomached.
under the sea, the tops of the trees, these snake experts know how to face off with fangs and survive. They take great risks for great rewards.
It's a very happy ending.
And that's a fang off even a snake can get behind.
Some you see, and some you don't. But they all have 8 legs and a bundle of bulging eyeballs. This is the real nightmare on Elm Street of the arachnid kind, where the freaky turn deadly tricks and gorge themselves on grotesque liquid diets. So best to look in that shoe. Because whoever said good things come in small packages wasn't talking about these guys. For many people, spiders are downright terrifying. In our heads, they're monstrous killers and always larger than life. But spiders don't have to be big to be deadly. This little guy's got moves like a superhero. Bad news for a honeybee. He's oblivious to the googly eyes sizing him up. This is a jumping spider, and it can broad jump up to 40 times its length. That's like a human jumping a 250-foot wide chasm, the length of 5 tractor trailers. Okay, so he's cheating. But even Spider-Man uses a safety line. The landing is right on target, thanks to some killer depth perception. It's a breathtaking performance, especially for the bee. This is no walk in the park, especially if a certain arachnid decides to hitch a ride. The tick, a seriously creepy blood guzzler. Just another 8-legged freak or a killer? When ticks dig in for a meal, they don't seem to know when to stop. Females can swell to 100 times their pre-feeding weight. When they sense warm blood, they jab serrated mouth parts into our flesh. Here's a quick demonstration. Pretend the jello is your blood. To hold on tight, they spew a bit of cement to solidify their attachment to us, which is why they're so hard to remove. Females feed for days, long enough for a male to find her and mate. That's right. Some species use you for sex while drinking your blood before dropping off. But what's worse, they almost always leave little gifts behind, like bacteria or viruses. Tick-borne illnesses, like Lyme disease, can cause years of agony. And tick typhus can actually kill a person. But there's one more killer in the arachnid family album. The scorpion. And it's best to avoid this 8-legged critter, too. Our first is Africa's death stalker. A well-deserved name. Its sting contains neurotoxic venom, 3 times more powerful than a cobra's. Within minutes, blood pressure soars, fever sets in, and convulsions follow. Adults survive. Children often do not. You can spot a scorpion by its tail, but steer clear of that stinger. The scorpion design was perfected over 400 million years ago, so they probably even terrorized the dinosaurs. Today, about 1,200 species roam the Earth, and all are venomous. 25 are deadly to us, killing as many as 5,000 people a year. The Deathstalker haunts North Africa and the Middle East, but he's not hunting humans. When a tasty insect drops in, pincers grab dinner. A jab of deadly venom makes it safe to eat. And what better way to start a meal than with the juiciest part, the head. Scorpions also live in the Sonoran Desert, where you'd think they'd rule. But not with gals like this around. She's a tarantula, well matched against her eight-legged cousin. But a beast of a different brand slithers into the mix. Next to the tarantula, the diamondback is a heavyweight and has a venomous bite to match. So this fight depends on speed. Fangs down, the tarantula wins. Even the snake's surprised. Then she does what she does best and digs into her meaty meal. Tarantulas are the largest spiders in the world, and this is the granddaddy of them all. Named the Goliath, for obvious reasons, like its foot-wide leg span. It's fast enough to catch a bird, but they're a rare treat. To hunt, the Goliath lays out a nearly invisible silk trip line and waits. The mouse has no idea what he's walking into, but the spider can feel the mouse approach. Super-sensitive hairs pick up the slightest vibration in the air or leaf litter, and a tiny tug on the trip line seals the deal. Inch-long fangs inject neurotoxic venom, rendering the toothy victim instantly harmless and dead. If the tables are turned and you threaten a Goliath's life, get ready for a performance. It rears up like a horse, as if it doesn't look big enough already. Then it rubs its legs against its hairy abdomen, flinging spiky hairs into the breeze. They pierce skin like darts, then burn and itch. As a last resort, it'll sink its fangs right into your flesh. But no worries. You won't keel over unless you're allergic to the venom. The spider of our nightmares is impressive for sure, but more bluff than bite. Spiders have evolved some amazing ways to hunt. The bolus spider is a bit of a cowboy. It sends out a line of silk with a drop of glue on the end, and then whips it around like a lasso. But this line has a twist. The glue contains pheromones that attract certain male moths, and nothing else. Talk about a picky eater. They're the only thing the bolus spider chows on. Dinner is a cinch to round up. Clearly, it isn't this cowboy's first rodeo. Hunters, like this European wolf spider, need big eyes, all the better to see you with. Like their namesakes, wolf spiders sleep in a den and hunt on the run, using nothing fancy, just speed. And a grab that would make any wolf proud. The wolf spider may be quick, but he's about to meet his match. The trapdoor spider lives in a sort of hobbit hole, hidden by a door hinged with silk. He waits until he senses vibrations from above. It's the wolf spider, out hunting. But this is no hobbit. The trapdoor spider's tactic is pretty underhanded, but highly effective. Just another way to kill in this spider-eats-spider world. This meadow may look idyllic, but it's crawling with killers. Crab spiders, decked out in camouflage and lying in wait. They look pretty innocent, just hanging around, minding their own business, until lunch presents itself. The crab spider's true colors come rushing out in a stab of venom. And with typical arachnid flair, it spews digestive juice into its victim's shell, and then drinks its innards. Nothing like a gut-flavored Slurpee on a hot day. Some hunters rely on flashier tactics. This South American tarantula is named Pink Toe, maybe because her toes are pretty and pink, like she's had a pedicure. But color's not the only thing that makes her feet special. Hooks and millions of tiny hairs on the tips of a tarantula's legs allow them to defy gravity. So this is an easy crime. In fact, she lives most of her life in the trees. Wriggling chicks can't help but send vibrations. So the pink toe knows exactly where they are. And you know exactly what comes next. A tasty snack for the tarantula. Not only do some spiders defy gravity, others, like the European raft spider, can walk on water. Hairs on its legs allow the spider to stay afloat. And the water's surface transmits messages. Once again, it's vibrations that give prey away. When a ripple comes in, the raft spider knows exactly where to lunge. They can even subdue a fish that to a human would be 4 times the size of a marlin. But spiders have no interest in catch and release. Spiders on the hunt are masters of trees and water. So why not sand? This is Africa's Namib Desert. Dangerous for many reasons, including this. The six-eyed sand spider. It has one of the most toxic venoms on Earth. It's barely the size of a fingernail. Easy to miss. So its biggest weapon is the element of surprise. The six-eye doesn't stalk prey or spin webs. It buries itself in the sand Microscopic hairlets on its back hold the sand in place, like a cloak. You'd think it would just cook out here. But it can survive for a year without a single meal or drop to drink. And it's always ready to strike. A perfect meal doesn't have to be big. A fish moth will do. The killing tool is cytotoxic venom, a cell destroyer. The six-eye gets the scientific name Sicarius, or assassin. Because scientists believe it might have the most lethal venom in the world. To a human, one stab of it spells catastrophe. Symptoms develop slowly. First, pain near the bite. Then lesions develop as the tissue dies. Venom courses through the bloodstream. Vessels collapse, and organs fail. No antivenin exists. At best, it means loss of a limb. At worst, curtains. There's only been one confirmed human death from a six-eyed sand spider bite. However it happened, one thing's for sure. The Namib can be a dangerous place to play. When it comes to weapons that killer spiders use, the most ingenious is the web. The orb weavers are masters of them. You could even call them show-offs. Spider silk is a miracle fiber, stronger than steel, yet incredibly flexible and light. A single strand of silk that circled the earth would weigh only 12 ounces. It's the invention that allowed small spiders to have big appetites. This bat is armed with highly sensitive sonar that detects and eludes anything in its path. Anything but the ultimate death trap. The strands of the web are 30 times thinner than human hair, but can still snag a victim much larger than the spider who built them. Spiders can make up to 7 different kinds of silk, each with its own dastardly purpose. Pulled from spinnerets in the spider's body, each liquid silk contains proteins that change structure as they solidify. Some spiders lace special trap threads with beads of sticky liquid. Thick ooze coats the victim as it moves in the web. The more the prey struggles, the less likely its escape. Silk, like water, transmits vibrations. These messages help spiders keep tabs on what's happening in their webs. This is no orb weaver masterpiece. It's the work of the Black Widow, a spider with a murderous reputation. Later, we'll see if she snares a lover with her web. But first, can she use it to fool an arachnid of a different design? Her web is undetectable to the scorpion. And right away, he runs into trouble. His thrashing alerts the widow. This is no insect. But will he be her demise? They both have deadly venom, but hers contains a protein that can disable the scorpion's nerves. Whoever gets in the first venomous punch wins. Pincers are the scorpion's first line of defense. He'll keep fighting until she gets them covered. Now all that's left to contain is the scorpion's flailing stinger. Only after he's all tied up can she deal the death blow. Score another victory for the spider, thanks to her quick work with silk, a web builder's evolutionary leg up on the scorpion. This big-eyed beauty is into high-tech gadgets. Her eyes work like night vision goggles, and her silk is a precision killing tool. She waits for prey to wander into her strike zone, holding deathly still. Then, oh, what a tangled web she weaves. Spiders have many ways to deceive. This orb weaver is busy with her dinner, blissfully unaware that she's about to become someone else's. The Portia spider elevates deception to an art. She plays the orb weaver's web, but her target remains preoccupied. Portia's signals say, "I'm prey." But the orb weaver already has a mouthful. Meanwhile, Portia moves in for the kill. It's the ultimate deceit, using the orb weaver's masterpiece, her own web, against her. When spiders fight spiders, things can get sticky. These are two spitting spiders, engaged in a turf war. The viscous glue they fire at each other is usually aimed at prey. It wraps like silk, but packs a double punch. It's laced with a powerful toxin, meant to kill. The winner cleans up by eating the loser. Cannibalism at its best. But not all spiders fight amongst themselves. These webs cover entire trees, the coordinated effort of a colony of social spiders. These little guys are hunters, like all spiders. What's different here is cooperation. A useful skill when taking down a giant. Like lions, several hold down the struggling victim, while one goes in for the kill. There can be thousands of these tiny hunters in a single colony, and it pays to work together. But out of thousands of species, only about 23 live socially by design. Other spiders do it under extreme circumstances. This is Pakistan after a recent massive flood. Spiders built most of these webs to escape rising waters. And it happened again in Australia in 2012. When freak events strike, trust eight-legged killers to know just what to do. We like to think of our homes as safe havens, free of all the dangers of the outside world. Think again. The wild wants in for the same reasons we do. Food, warmth, and shelter. Critters enter through cracks we don't even notice. Slits in siding, utility vents, even an open door. Once inside, they act like they own the place. staking out turf to hunt and mate. Usually, when an unsuspecting spider gets in our way, it's their worst nightmare, not ours. But here's a nasty exception. Enter the brown recluse. True to their name, they're shy, retiring spiders. The latest science shows they're more scavengers than hunters. A first in our knowledge of spiders. But every year, they bite thousands of unsuspecting victims in North America. They have a distinctive marking, shaped like a violin. But you don't want to get close enough to see it. Human bites happen when we invade their space. Their venom is cytotoxic, meaning it kills cells around the wound. An enzyme attacks the cells and eats away at their membranes. The majority heal quickly, but some develop into necrotic lesions, and it isn't pretty. It's like acid eating your flesh from the inside out. Ulcers can persist for months and leave deep scarring. The brown recluse is one nasty visitor you don't want to entertain at home. Scorpions also traipse into our homes uninvited. Why not, when there's plenty of food around? Whether in India or North Africa, some deadly scorpions love it hot and dry. But they don't go out in the midday sun. They hide when we're most active. And that's why our lives collide. Childhood isn't so carefree with these guys around. It can mean sudden death. And for an adult, agony. Shaking out your shoes is wise if you live in scorpion territory. Responsible for this guy's pain? The fat-tailed scorpion. Like the deathstalker, it's another notorious North African. With venom like a cobra's, it's responsible for at least 30 deaths a year. So here's hoping this killer doesn't come to a shirt or shoe near you. Same goes for the Black Widow. She's an American vixen with a flair for drama. Her venom is said to be 15 times more toxic than a rattlesnake's. Only the female bites humans, and you can spot her by the distinctive red hourglass shape on her belly, like a tattoo that screams, "Your time is up." When she ventures inside, watch out. She looks for a quiet place to build a web. But this is no Charlotte, and she's not up for a play date. People rarely die from her bite. But the muscle pain and cramping can be excruciating. It can take days to recover. One thing's for sure, you won't soon forget the bite of the Black Widow. When it comes to deadly critters, Australia has more than its fair share. And in walks one of the worst, happily eight-legging it right into our comfort zones. The Sydney funnel web, one of the most dangerous spiders in the world. Like psycho killers, they stab multiple times when threatened. And inject weird venom. It has no impact on most mammals. But but could kill a primate like us in 15 minutes. Still, we're not their targets. They actually prefer the comforts of their own home. Their burrows are lined with the funnel-shaped webs for which they're named. Ambush hunters. They wait for insects to wander by. The silk-lined doorway is a trap. Well, that was easy. A little insect soup on the back burner for later. Female funnel webs are homebodies. But there comes a time when the guys are compelled to wander. It's their search for mates that brings them into our homes. Oddly enough, they have a taste for Sydney's wealthier neighborhoods. And it's just too bad if we get in the way. Their fangs are long and hard, and can even penetrate a toenail. The pain is excruciating. And internally, the picture is dire. The heart races, muscles twitch uncontrollably. Blood pressure skyrockets. Then, fluid fills the lungs and results in respiratory failure. But there is some good news. In the 1980s, scientists developed funnel web antivenin. It saved over 100 lives and reined in one of nature's deadliest eight-legged killers. Australia isn't the only hotspot for venom. South America has a deadly arachnid with a penchant for travel. The Brazilian wandering spider. It's a nomad with no need for a burrow or web, just looking for trouble. This one's found it. If this guy wakes up, he risks a nasty surprise. Some men, when bitten, get painful erections that last for days. So scientists checked out the wanderer's venom. And sure enough, might be including it in new medications for erectile dysfunction. But there's little upside potential to getting bitten. Authorities claim that 10 people have died from wanderer bites, out of about 7,000 reported. 18 times more toxic than the Black Widow. The wanderer gets the Guinness Book thumbs up as the world's deadliest spider. Although the wanderer likes its South American digs, sometimes it travels abroad, hitching a ride on foreign shipments like bananas and showing up as far away as England. So the next time you have an uninvited house guest, just be happy. It's the ones with 8 legs and killer venom that you really don't want. Even after all the fangs, venom, and writhing bodies, spiders have the power to shock us the most in the bedroom. Theirs, not ours. Maybe you've heard about it. Spiders favor a kind of deadly love. The survivor is almost always the gal. They're usually a giant compared to the guy. The jumping spider. You know, the one who can jump like a superhero. He's also got moves in the bedroom. It's a dance competition of sorts. Except a female jumping spider is a killer when it comes to judging talent. The male begins by waving his brightly colored legs in front of her. Then he holds them up like signal flags. and prepares for the dramatic finish. How's that for flair? The judge says he can mate. But this other poor soul must have 2 left feet. He gets a thumbs down. And she wastes no time opting for dinner over the dance. Rejection doesn't get any worse. To avoid a similar fate, the desert spider has a trick up his sleeve. He's surfing the web for a female, and he's hot on her scent. He sends her an instant message. His handle, sexy suitor. She seems willing, but to be sure, he has a secret weapon. A pheromone that works like a knockout drug. In a blink, she's completely helpless. Just the way he wants her. He moves in with a burst of enthusiasm, only to discover she's facing the wrong way. He scrambles to reposition her. If she wakes up, she might kill him. It could be any second. When it comes to spider sex, nothing's ever easy. But he gets the job done and runs like the wind. Some male spiders, like this Pisara, bring a gift for their date. The bigger the present, which is a bit of prey wrapped nicely in silk, the longer he gets to mate. And the longer she gets to eat, the more kids that'll be his. Because that gives him time to use these pedipalps, the corkscrew things, to put sperm into her receptacles. It stays here until she's good and ready to fertilize her eggs. But wait, something's wrong. The tasty gift is gone, and she wants more. He's the only food in sight. So much for gallantry. She'll leave him a shadow of his former self. For male tarantulas, half the battle is just finding a potential mate. When they do, sometimes the gals aren't very friendly. Their romance is a bit like a tango, only there are 16 legs in the dance. He pins her deadly fangs with his front legs, and then lifts her up and gets in position to mate. When he's done, the challenge is to exit the dance floor without getting stabbed. She kills scorpions and nearly kills humans, so don't expect any special treatment for her lover. The Black Widow is known as a bedroom assassin, but does she always kill her mate? He vibrates his abdomen. It puts her at ease. Then he weaves silk around her. A bit of bondage is just a distraction. Then he works quickly to deposit his sperm. Linger a second too long here, and he'll end up another statistic. Surprisingly, he escapes. But science shows that so do most Black Widow males. The Black Widow might not earn her reputation, But another family member, a widow spider living down under, sure does. The black widow's Australian cousin, the redback, is the wife who really carries a hatchet. And the redback male is her willing victim. While mating, he actually performs a somersault, putting his abdomen into her mouth. This is more than a love bite. She feeds on him while he mates with her. It's suicidal sex, but it works, even for the guy. Whoever provides dinner, the parents are better off for it. Because when mom is well fed, more of their kids survive. Nature's twisted way at work once again. But after all the drama of these bedroom encounters, spider moms are on their own. So motherhood is when a girl brings out her best silk. Most spiders weave a thick mat of it, then deposit their eggs, and finally bundle them up. Some moms hang up the egg balls and get out of town, candidates for spider social services. But there could be 1,000 babies in one of these balls. Can you blame her for wanting to run? At least this mom gets a gold star for being protective. And wolf spiders take prenatal care a step further. She's going to haul this baby around with her. Not only is the silk tough, it's waterproof. She gets her business done and even nurtures, warming her little ones in the sun. When the time comes, she puts her fangs to gentler use, opening her tiny Pandora's box. A spiderling's first challenge is to climb mom's hairy legs and hold on to her back. They come with their own safety restraints, strapping themselves on board with a line of silk. Her wriggling backpack organized, mom and babies head out for adventure. But as much as new spiderlings might look like a horde of little freaks ready to wreak havoc, they're incredibly vulnerable and quite tasty. It's a wonder any grow up. But maybe that's small comfort if you're an arachnophobe. Because many do survive. Just how they manage to conquer the world seems like science fiction. After climbing to the highest height they can find, they lift their little tummies skyward and let out a line of silk. When conditions are right, wind grabs the line and carries the spiderling upward, sometimes into the stratosphere. It's called ballooning. An almost fairy tale beginning for an 8-legged killer. But it's deadly efficient. They can cross oceans and continents. Before long, little killers might be landing in your backyard too. The truth is, while they might all be killers and have the fangs and pincers, stingers and venom to prove it, out of some 40,000 spiders and scorpions and ticks in the world, only a fraction can do us any harm. Unfortunately for them, Arachnids are some of those creatures that we just love to hate. For some people, they will never be more than eight-legged killers.